Hello, Seekers. Thank you for joining me as together we seek mystery and adventure. Today begins The Bleak Threshold, episode 1 of our journey into official exit domain for Ker Nethalas, the way out of the Necropolis. Will we make it? Will Jedd finally see the outside world again? We came out from the lair of the crows, and I've off camera. I've done some of the inventory management and selling and those sort of things. Went to the trader. I also rolled the 8 spoils rolls and just generally got everything stocked up and ready to go. So we are ready for the Bleak Threshold. I made my way over here. Had a couple little fights on the way. I've already lost a few points of sanity, but I have a fragment that's going to help us with that when we get in there. And let me give you the highlights of the spoils rolls. So one thing that I got was a new lore book, and this lore book details the Battle of Karum. The Battle of Karum, a chapter seared into the living memory of the Valorian ascendancy, unfolds in my mind like a visceral painting of heroism and strife. There, on the rain-soaked battleground, our shadow steel-clad warriors clashed with the invading Astrini horde, an unwavering bulwark against encroaching chaos. The obsidian veil, like spectral wraiths, cut through enemy ranks, their blades weaving a symphony of death. In that tempest of combat, the Inquisitor's incantations shook the very ground, their necromantic might turning the tide. Victory was earned through blood and valor, etching a testament to our empire's unyielding spirit and the triumph of the Valorian ascendancy against the relentless storm. So I really enjoy these lore books. I'm certainly all in at this point to the lore of the world of Ker Nethalas. All right, so the best piece of loot that I got from the 8 spoils was an epic van braces, epic magic van braces, and I am now wearing those. And what those do is they give us plus 30 to magic resistance. So Jedd now has a magic resistance score of 80, which is very nice. That's going to help us a lot. And in addition to that, we have a plus 3 damage reduction to both arcane and bludgeoning damage. So hopefully that's also going to pay off for us. The only downside to it is that I had to increase the maneuverability penalty to minus 10. So that now it gives us an effective dodge score of 57, which is still decent, but compared to what our score could be, 67, we are certainly sacrificing a little bit there, and hopefully it won't come back to bite us. Now, what that did allow me to do was to remove the magic resistance plus 10 ring that I had and replace that with a sanity plus 5 ring. So we are now looking at a base of 20 sanity, and I'm also going to be doing something right now before we go into the Bleak Threshold to boost that. And what that's going to be is using a fragment. Let me get the right fragment here. All right, so it's this rusted chain, and this says a rusted chain that when wrapped around you grants your mind strength and resolve. You get plus 10 temporary sanity. So what that would do is effectively increase our sanity on the left side here. That would move us up to a sanity score of 27, and then as we lost that sanity, we would not be able to regain that. We would only be able to go back to 20. But to temporarily have a sanity of 27, I think is going to be a big help inside of the Bleak Threshold. So now we will enter the Bleak Threshold. We're going to come into the entrance area here, and we are at the room number 1. Let's see what it says. So finding the Bleak Threshold. The Bleak Threshold is an ornate stone cathedral sitting in the center of an ancient street, fallen deep into the tangled rubble of Ker Nethalas. The atmosphere surrounding it is silent and oppressive, and every footstep echoes in the dark. To find the Bleak Threshold, an adventurer must first conquer 5 domains. The street will not reveal itself before then. Once the Bleak threshold has been found, it is permanently unlocked. All future adventurers can simply find it, replacing a roll on the room and corridor shape table with its entrance. Changes to the inside of the Bleak threshold are similarly permanent. Any items removed from it are removed for good. Any foes defeated within its reaches are defeated for good. Only the Overseer fully recovers between attempts on the Bleak threshold. And even then, this effect ends if the Overseer is killed. So that's a very interesting kind of mechanic there. And growing darkness effects on the Bleak threshold remain in play, and the Bleak threshold's tension die remains at its most recent level between visits. More than one life may be required to conquer it. If an adventurer dies or is otherwise lost in the Bleak threshold, see the dead ending. They may be recovered later. So yeah, more than one life may be required to conquer it. So it kind of gives you an idea of just how difficult it could be. Overseer influence, light drinker. So we have a special Overseer influence here. A unique Overseer influence is active while in the depth of the Bleak threshold. Light sources reduce twice as fast. Failed resolve checks against the darkness of lacking a light source inflict an additional 1 sanity loss. Abilities that provide light or remove the need for light cost twice as much ether. Rations are half as effective, removing only 1 exhaustion for every 2 consumed. Making camp recovers 4 exhaustion to a minimum of 0. The rest camp activity recovers 2 exhaustion. Failing a camp check causes you to lose 10 sanity rather than roll on the encounter table. Okay, that's something I'm worried about. Creatures here do not have level adaptation. They are as strong as they will ever be. Which I bought a bunch of extra lamp oil from the trader, so I think we should be okay there. And I also have a lot of extra rations. And I did find a bedroll in those spoils tables, so I do have a +1 to the camp roll. All right, exploring the Bleak threshold. All encounters within the Bleak threshold are predetermined. Do not make lair or exit checks, combat encounter checks, checks to see whether doors or containers are locked or trapped, or rolls on the events table while exploring. You may not scavenge while exploring. And each numbered section counts as a single room, so there's not going to be any scavenging. And there's not going to be any combat encounter checks or events or checking if doors are locked or trapped. So we're simply going to be moving through each room, and we will still be rolling the growing darkness, and we're still going to have, of course, this Overseer influence. And I don't know who the Overseer is, or if we are actually supposed to select an Overseer. So for right now, I'm not going to do that. I think the text will probably lead us in the direction of where we should be. All right, so we're in room 1. It's a building like any other on the street, save for its magnitude. Save for the way the silence seems to cling to it. Save for the way your pulse pounds in your ears when you approach. You can feel the buzz of barely dampened energies pricking on the tips of your fingers. Here in this sunken passage is the core of the city, the final turn of its bowels before your digestion is complete. Hope swells against the repressive atmosphere. You might get out of here alive. We are at the ornate stone doors, which lead to room number 2, the corridor of black incense. So here is the ornate stone doors. And it says that these doors are shut and enchanted against erosion and force. Engravings on the doors show penitent figures pouring blood and coins into a stone donation box. If an adventurer manages to pass through the doors, they shut and seal again. So the stone indulgence box, 500 coin and 2 health worth of blood are poured into the box to unseal the doors. The box itself is warded by the same effect that protects the doors, and donations evaporate once they land inside. So it looks like we need to make a donation. We need to leave 500 coin and 2 health in order to unseal these doors. So let's go ahead and do that first. Put our health down to 15. We will remove 500 coins, and we still have 1,500 coins. And you can see here in my inventory, it's quite funny, I have coins filling up my inventory because every 100 coins is a slot. So I can now erase 5 of those slots. are now open. All right, so we have unsealed the door with our donation. And now we see the glyph-bound corpse. A cadaver in robes preserved both by the dry cold and the residual magics of its final ceremony. It's surrounded by icons. We can make a scavenge check to find an icon collar amulet and 3 fragments. All right, so let's see what we get for if we can find these fragments. So we rolled a 7. Very nice. So I only have a scavenge of 13, although I do have advantage on that due to the relic that I have. But with a 7, that's going to give us an icon collar amulet, and it's also going to give us 3 fragments. So that's a very nice way to start with a good roll there. So let's add this icon collar amulet, and let's get 3 fragments. So fragment number 1, a small enchanted skull that grants the user the ability to see what's ahead. Roll the contents of the next 3 rooms. Okay, that one is not going to help us because we are in this set domain here. So that one's actually not going to be useful for us right now, but it's something to possibly save for later if we ever make it out of here. And then our next fragment is a vial filled with sickly green liquid. When thrown, it bursts into corrosive flames that deal 3d6 acid damage to all targets. Okay, that's very, very useful for sure. And the last fragment, a cracked monocle that when worn allows the user to inflict psychic pain on a target by locking eyes. As a standard action, make a resolve check. If successful, your target suffers 3d10 psychic damage. Wow, so that's also very good. So we'll certainly keep those. I also have 1 fragment in my belt right now, which is the Jagged Mirror. And what the Jagged Mirror does is when shattered, it creates illusory duplicates of the user to distract enemies, and you get plus 30 to all defense checks for the next 4 rounds. So I have that in there right now. And I also have the belt lamp and the bandage and an unknown potion. And I'm actually thinking to remove the unknown potion, and let's put this cracked monocle in there. Okay, the cracked monocle is now in our belt, so that's going to give us a ability to use that as a free action in a battle if we need to dish out some heavy damage. So let's see what else we have here. We're going to now be looking at the odd signs. Scrapings in chalk suggest a message from one intelligent being to another. Make a thievery check or a hard scavenge check. So my thievery is 0, but I could make a hard scavenge check, which I believe is going to be a minus 30. And that would allow us to find a Shadow Stalker supply cache around the corner containing a belt lamp, 3 lamp oil, 5 cooking ingredients, and 8 rations. So with a thievery of 0 and a minus 30 penalty to scavenge, we will not be able to succeed in that check, but I can still roll the scavenge check to see if I get doubles and mark it for improvement, but I did not get doubles. Okay, so we will have to miss out on a little bit of resources there, but I'm not too worried about it because, as I said, I stocked up on a lot of supplies before coming in here. I'm ready to move on to our next room, but I need to count off 2 light sources for the first room, and then also count off 2 more light sources for moving into the second room. And we also need to have a tension die roll. All right, so that's for the first room, and then we're gonna have a tension die roll for moving into the second room. So we are now in the room number 2, the corridor of black incense. Strange smoke hangs in the air, filtering out from braziers and thuribles chained to the ceiling. The scent is sweet, acrid, floral, stale. It coils in the nostrils and veils the eyes. All around you is stillness. So we have this black incense. Every time you enter this room, and at the end of every combat round here, make a resolve check or lose 1 sanity and suffer 1 exhaustion. You are blinded for the first 2 rounds of combat here. You cannot set camp here. All right, well, that sounds fun. So let's go ahead and make a resolve check. And a 9, so we have passed it. So we're not going to lose sanity or exhaustion. I believe that we are still blinded for the 2 rounds of combat due to the incense. Okay, so now what happens now? The Zenatu clan assassins. Too late, you realize there are shapes moving against the grain of the smoke. See page 45. So we see these figures emerging out of the smoke. So we're going to have to go to page 45. A battle with the Zenatu clan assassins. These are killers trained in Mountain Peak style, seeking a dangerous place to practice their arts. And this is a humanoid enemy. There's going to be 3 of them. And they have a health of 5, a combat skill of 40, magic resistance of 30, and they are penetrating 2, which means they can ignore 2 points of armor, and they are swift, which means that they cannot have a penalty on their reaction phase. So, all right, so we're going to have to face 3 of these. That's going to be pretty tough. We will see how this goes. And there is no level adaptations in the Bleak Threshold, so we won't be applying any level adaptations to these enemies. All right, let's go ahead and start our combat. We're going to roll for initiative. So we'll do a roll for these 3 assassins here. Okay, so the assassins have rolled 64, which is going to be over their skill, and we have rolled 86, which is going to be over our skill as well. Now their awareness is 50, and mine is 44. So they will win due to the higher base skill, so they will be going first. And now let's roll 3d6 to see all 3 of their attacks. Okay, so we have a 1, a 3, and a 4. So we'll go ahead and start with the 1. And the 1 is the Rain of Darts. The Zenatu clan assassin leaps backwards, pelting you with small, sharp projectiles, dealing 2d4 piercing damage and applying the bleeding 1 and poison 1 conditions on a hit. And the other thing that we have to deal with is that we are blinded, which is going to be a minus 40 to all of our checks. Okay, so we're going to have to roll for combat here, and again we will have a minus 40 penalty. So we have rolled a 7 with our penalty. That's going to give us basically a roll of 0, which means that we cannot defend there. And they have rolled a 35, so that's going to be a successful roll for them. And it's now going to be 2d4 piercing damage. And I also need to roll for the hit location. So the hit location is going to be a 1. And that would be the right leg. So we don't have any armor there, so there's nothing to worry about there with the hit location. All right, so let's roll the 2d4 piercing damage. Oh, and a really good roll for them there. 2 4s, which converted on the table will be 1 damage, but they did get the highest roll that they could. And we're now going to have bleeding and poison 1, which at level 1 does not do any damage, but eventually it's going to catch up with us if we're not able to treat it. Let's find. Yeah, we also have blinded as well. So probably after this battle, we'll want to use some bandages. Okay, so there's poison. Now, really, it's been quite a long time since I've been poisoned or bleeding, and I believe the last time I was able to camp very soon after that. So this is going to be pretty crazy to deal with all this right now. Okay, so that takes care of the first assassin. Now, the second assassin rolled a 3, which is the Gravity Claims the Avalanche. This is a physical attack. The Zenatu clan assassin performs an advanced kata, striking you with a series of hammer fists, dealing 2d4 bludgeoning damage on a hit and forcing you to check athletics or fall prone. Okay, so let's see if we can make a successful physical defense here. And we have rolled a 78. They have rolled a 33, so they have just rolled a critical hit. So even with a minus 40, putting us down to 38, which would be a successful defense, they have rolled a critical hit, and they have also rolled a 19, which is a hit to the head. So they have effectively rolled a double critical, even though we don't really play it that way. But that's going to allow them to double their hit dice here. So they're going to be rolling 4d4 damage. Okay, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be a total of 4 damage. Now this is bludgeoning damage, so we are able to absorb 3 points of that. So that's going to actually be 1 damage. But we now also need to do an athletics check. And that was 81, and with the minus 40 for blinded, we are rolling a 41, which is going to be within our skill. So we do actually successfully defend that there. But we are going to take the 1 bludgeoning damage, and we are also going to take the 2 piercing damage. So that's a total of 3 damage lost. Sorry, 3 toughness lost. So we're now at 15 toughness. And now it is going to be, that's going to finish their turn. So now it's going to be our turn. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the sweeping blow. So I'm going to attempt to attack all 3 of the assassins. So we need to hope for a pretty high roll here. So a 62, that would give a roll of 22. And they have rolled a 50, which is going to be over their skill. A roll of 22 would be within our skill, and it would in fact be a critical. So I don't know if, dropping 40, causing that to give you a critical, is that okay? I'm going to play it that it does give you a critical. I think it's a little bit of a lucky roll there. But that's interesting because I've never been blinded and then reduced my roll into a critical hit. So, but anyway, so we'll play it like that. But feel free to let me know what you think about that. And so now with the critical hit, we're going to need to do 2d6 and 44 hit dice. Okay. And what do we have here? So we've got 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage, 5 damage, 6 damage with the modifier. So we have a total of 6 damage, which is going to be to each one of the assassins. The assassins do not have any armor, and they have a health of 5. So the assassins have been defeated. So a very, very fortunate roll there to have the blinded work out to give us a critical hit. But now our bleeding and poison has advanced to bleeding 2 and poison 2. A 2 on the damage conversion table is a 1 damage, so that we're taking 1 damage from each one here. So we are now going to be down to 13. And we're definitely going to need to get this treated, as I believe it will cumulatively increase with every room that we enter into. Okay, so because of completing combat, we can roll d6 for the natural healer ability. We can recover 3 toughness. So we will be back to 16 toughness, and we're gonna get 50 experience here, which will put the experience to 220. And blinded is gonna go away now that we've finished the combat. So we also need to make a roll on the spoils table, or should I say we should draw a card. And we are going to get a valuable item, and we're going to draw a fragment. So we will get another fragment, and it's always good to have more. So tattered bandages that when wrapped around a wound accelerate healing but carry a curse that causes the wounds to fester if not removed in time. You can heal 2 toughness per room. If kept for more than d6 rooms, you lose 1 health per room. Okay. Well, that would have been nice if that would cure the poison or bleeding for us, but yeah, that's something interesting to consider. We have quite a few different options with our fragments right now. Okay, so on the subject of the bleeding and poison, so normally you could use a bandage to one bandage could remove one condition. So we could have one bandage remove bleeding, and we could have one remove poison. But as you can see, I have the medicine skill of 0, and I also have the queasy flaw, which basically just reduces your medicine skill by 10. So before I actually had 10 medicine. So we can make a medicine check here and hope that we roll doubles, which we did not. And so that's going to consume 1 bandage. So that would put us down to 7. And yeah, it's going to be very hard to actually do anything with this medicine skill. So I think we have to look into what other options we have to heal this. So our only option to heal the bleeding and poisoning is to camp. And we cannot camp in this room. It says that you cannot set camp here. So we're going to have to wait until we get into another room to do that, which will advance the condition and also deal damage to us. So what else do we see in this room? There's the Zenatu Grand Master. An old husk preserved by the smoke, bathing in its scent, is the only thing that keeps his disease at bay. He speaks little and regards himself as a betrayer of his clan. He offers a brawler amulet in exchange for keeping silent about him. Should you escape, he is immune to pain and will not contest you if you move to kill him. Alright, well, I don't need a brawler amulet because I'm already a brawler. And assuming that he is a fellow brawler, I don't want to kill him. So we'll move on. Root and Petal Hexblade. A curious weapon lies discarded in a corner. So we have found a Root and Petal Hexblade. So the Root and Petal Hexblade is a relic. It is a rapier, and it has a value of 600. It deals piercing, earth, and necrotic damage. You can choose. It does not deal damage to plants. And once per room, you can choose to suffer poison 1 to make an attack that deals plus 3d8 damage and ignores armor. Wow. That's really nice. When you kill with this weapon, you recover 1 health. Well, that's really cool, but I do not have, I might have a 0 skill in bladed weapons, so I really can't use it. I could sell it. It says, this is a rapier that appears otherworldly. Its blade, seemingly black as night, shimmers faintly with an unnatural greenish glow along its edges. The hilt, crafted from what looks like twisted roots and blooming flowers, pulses with a faint warmth. Despite its unusual materials, the rapier is well balanced and feels surprisingly light in the hand. Okay, so what can we do now? So we have some different options here in room 2, because room 2 is connected to room 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 8 and also to 9. So, or 11. So this room is connected, 11. So this room is connected to a lot of different rooms here, room 7 as well. And I think we just want to follow in order. So maybe we want to go to room 3. So these doors, so room 3, the sepulchre of the first sage, room 4, a second black gate. Room 5 is a hidden departed coven ground, and room 8 is the Sanlio's pipe organ. And these doors are perfectly engineered. A little pressure causes them to swing open soundlessly. And then there are stone doors that are barred from the other side. So 6 Origin of Rot, 7 Cages for the Wretched, and 11 Muck Trench. These are shut with no discernible locking mechanism. They cannot be opened from this side unless you have already opened them from the other. Okay, so those would kind of be like some possible shortcuts or something um, in the future. Probably for after one of your characters have died, you could use this shortcut possibly. All right, so I think what we want to do is, probably just either go to room 3 or what other rooms do we have? So we could go to room 4, we could go to room 5, and we could also go to room 8. 8 would get us further along into this place, and maybe just try to skip everything and get to the end if we can. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to room 8. Okay, so here we are, room 8, the Sonlio's pipe organ. Infernal machinery carved with consecrations to the god of combustion, it hunches like a bloated metal tick against the side walls. A hole of ice hisses as it pumps smoke down log tubes leading to the corridor outside. The organ, it can be destroyed provided you can take down an armor 5 health 4 target in a single hit. Anything else it shrugs off. When Sonlio's pipe organ shrugs off an attack, its attacker takes 2d6 fire damage. If the organ is destroyed, 2, the Corridor of Black Incense loses its unique Black Incense property. Also, Sonlio swears vengeance against you. You take double fire damage and deal double cold damage from now on. Okay, so should we try to destroy the organ? And also, I think that I may have missed a check for leaving the incense room. Oh yeah, so we were supposed to make a resolve check for every combat round, actually. So I think we had one combat round in that fight. So let's go ahead and make a resolve check for that fight. Okay, 60. So we failed there. So we're going to lose 1 sanity and take 1 exhaustion. 26 sanity now and 1 exhaustion now. Okay, I don't think there was anything else that we needed to worry about with that room. So back to the pipe organ. So should we try to hit this thing? An armor of 5 and a health of 4. So basically you would need to do 9 damage in a single hit. Otherwise they're going to take 2d6 fire damage. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can do 9 damage to it in a single hit. It probably doesn't have a critical hit location because it's just an organ. So I think we will leave it alone for right now. But it's an interesting thing to think about. Or I could maybe use a fragment on it. I don't see any reason why we couldn't use a fragment. So I could try to use the monocle, or I could try to use the acid vials. I don't think the acid vials will actually end up doing enough damage. The monocle could possibly do enough damage to it. But I don't know if I want to use the monocle for that. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Okay, let's see what else we have here. The Frosty Figures. A small group of ice-trapped monks have frozen themselves here, evidently by accident, the byproduct of a desperate attempt to take down the organ. 200 coins can be chiseled out of their clothing. Okay, so we can go ahead and collect 200 coins. So we'll be up to 1,700. And that's going to take up 2 more inventory slots for coins there. And we also need to suffer 1 damage for each bleeding and poisoned. Drop down to 14. And these are now at the level 3. So probably the best thing that we can do now is we can camp. So we have the option of going back to room 2. And we also have the option of going to the black marble stairs, which is number 9, to the audience hall of the Necrolords. Grand and bordered by elaborate gargoyles, every footstep echoes in the outer reaches of the larger chamber. So I think that maybe we would go there, but I think the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to camp, just so that we can go ahead and remove these conditions. So we would need to spend 2 bandages. So now I'm at 5 bandages, and we're going to be able to remove the bleeding and poison. So let's go ahead and use two. Let's go ahead and use 2 crafting supplies, which is going to give us a plus 10 bonus to our camp check roll for creating 2 barriers. And we rolled a 4, we rolled a 14, so we do pass our camp check. And we also need to reduce 2 light sources for moving into the pipe organ room. And the exhaustion will go to 0. And let's see. We also need to remove we also need to remove 2 rations. That's going to put us at 28. We will heal our toughness back to 18. And we're still above our maximum insanity, so we're not going to be able to do anything with that. We won't regain any more there. And we're also going to regain 1 health, which is going to put us at 16. Okay, so a much needed camp right there. We are prepared to go to take the black marble stairs up to the audience hall of the Necro Lords. But we will do that in episode 2. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you in episode 2 when we enter the Hall of the Necro Lords.